Hello, and welcome to this segment of Preparing for Success on the ACT Math Exam with Roger Melton. Be sure to download and print the accompanying handout for this podcast. Enjoy.
This podcast is entitled Solve by Substitution. The following questions are taken from ACT tests offered in the past. Note that each question could be answered using specific given values of variables, or in some cases, assigning your own values to the variables. If x equal -2 and y equal 3, then the expression x cubed y plus xy cubed is equal to what value? Here's the expression. After the values of the variables are substituted, you end up with a -2 cubed times 3 plus a -2 times 3 cubed. The values of each term become -24 and a -54. The sum becomes -78. The choice is D. A salesperson earns the quantity 6H plus 500 T dollars, where H is the number of hours worked and T is the total amount of her sales. What does she earn for working 10 hours with $230.80 in sales? The earnings expression 6H plus 500 T is to be evaluated when H is 10 hours and the total sales are $230.80. Substituting 10 for H, $230.80 for T leads to this expression. Evaluating 6 times 10 leads to 60. The value 500 times this dollar amount leaves $11.54. The sum is $71.54, and the choice is F. If the sum of x and y is a -2, and the difference of x and y is -3, then how much is the expression x squared minus y squared? The key idea in the solution to this problem is that the product of x plus y and x minus y becomes x squared minus y squared. But x plus y is a -2 and x minus y is a -3 from up above, so substituting we end up with the product of a -2 and a -3, and that leads to 6. The choice is G. If x is greater than 1, then which of the following has the least value? And here are the choices, beginning with F through K. Let x equal 4, which is greater than 1, and substitute into each choice. This will make your selection of the correct choice easier. In choice F, substituting 4 for x, you end up with 2. In the next one, substitute 4 for x, and you end up with 2 times the square root of 2, which is greater than 2. In choice H, you have the square root of 4 times 4, which is 4, which is the greatest of the 3. In J, by substituting 4 for x, you end up with 4 times the square root of 4, which is 8. In K, you end up with 4 times 4, which is 16. I can now look at these numerical values and see that the least is 2, and that corresponds to choice F. If A and B are any real numbers such that A is between 0 and 1, and B is greater than 1, which of the following must be true of the value of A times B? And you can see your choices, F through K. Because A is between 0 and 1, and B is greater than 1, let A be 1/2 and B be 2. This is arbitrary. Substitute the product of A times B, that's equal to 1, into each choice, and you end up with these values. In choice F, 1 is less than 1/2. That would be false. Part G, 1 is less than 1, that would be false. In H, 1 is less than 1, that would be false. In J, 1 is greater than 1/2 and less than 2, that would be true. And in the last one, 2 is less than 1, which is false. The choice is J. Which of the following expressions has a positive value for all x and y when x is positive and y is negative? And here you see your choices. Let x be 2 and y be a negative 2 so that x is positive and y is negative. Substitute each into choices to determine which choice is positive. In F, by substituting the values that you've made up, you end up with a -4. In G, the particular values you've chosen leads to 0. In H, by substituting the given values, you end up with a -16. In J, by substituting x equal 2 and y equal a -2, you end up with a -2. And in the last expression, the value becomes 1/4. You're looking for a positive choice. That becomes K.
Thanks for listening. We hope you found this podcast segment helpful in preparing you for the ACT. Please continue to the next podcast.